The iconic London ceremony was postponed in March 2020 due to COVID-19. And the Queen has been left delighted after the changing of the guard returned for the first time since lockdown. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, the changing of the guard event was halted, marking the longest break since World War II. Today, the ceremony has got underway in a sign that Britain is returning to normality. Buckingham Palace has hosted its first changing of the guard since COVID-19 forced the historic London event to be suspended in March 2020. On Monday, soldiers from the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards donned their famous scarlet tunics and bearskin hats outside Queen Elizabeth's London home to take part in the ceremonial event for the first time in just over 17 months. Alongside them, the band of the Coldstream Guards played a range of tunes in honor of Britain's Olympic team, including Spandau Ballet's 1983 hit Gold, Whitney Houston's One Moment in Time, and the Olympic theme from Oscar-winning movie Chariots of Fire. The renowned palace ceremony was halted last year along with those at Windsor Castle, the Tower of London and St James's Palace as part of the UK government's drive to avoid large public gatherings and slow the spread of the coronavirus. While guardsmen have continued to occupy their sentry positions outside Buckingham Palace, it has been in an administrative guard mount where they have changed over personnel with no ceremony or music of any kind. Richard Palmer, Daily Express royal correspondent, tweeted, "In a fresh sign of Britain returning to normality after COVID-19, changing of the guard has begun again today at Buckingham Palace after the longest break since the Second World War." The Coldstream Guards were given the honour of undertaking the first ceremonial guard change at the palace since March 2020. Earlier, No. 3 Company, 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards and the Regimental Band were on parade at Wellington Barracks, a welcome sight for tourists visiting London. Changing of the Guard at Buckingham Palace is the ceremony where the Queen's Guard hands over responsibility for protecting Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace to the new Guard. Footage shared across social media shows the Guards marching towards Buckingham Palace as onlookers look on. Many people took to Twitter to share their delight in the ceremonial event returning. One person wrote, "Ah, how wonderful. I can't wait to see that amazing moment with my own eyes." The Guards have protected kings, queens and the royal palaces since as early as 1656. The ceremony originally took place at the Palace of Whitehall. Whitehall Palace was the King's and Queen's official London home until 1689. When the royal household moved to St James's Palace, the ceremony moved as well, and when Queen Victoria moved into Buckingham Palace, the changing of the guards moved there. The changing of the guards ceremonial event takes place 4 times a week at Buckingham Palace. But following government advice during the pandemic, the ceremony was postponed until further notice. A statement from Buckingham Palace said back in March, in line with government advice to avoid mass gatherings, it has been agreed that the ceremonial of the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, St James's Palace and Windsor Castle will be postponed until further notice. Advice will be reviewed on an ongoing basis, with a view to restarting when appropriate. Like many people throughout the pandemic, the royal family were forced to adjust and cancelled overseas trips and a number of large-scale events. Back in March, Prince William said, "All of us have a part to play if we're going to protect the most vulnerable. That means acting on the latest expert advice, staying home if we or those we live with have symptoms, and avoiding non-essential contact to help reduce the spread of the virus." Queen Elizabeth II said her and her family are ready to play our part in the fight against COVID-19. The palace ceremony follows on the heels of the first post-lockdowns changing of the guard at Windsor Castle in July, which saw the 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards return to the cobbled streets of Queen Elizabeth's private home, where she isolated for the majority of the pandemic with her late husband, Prince Philip. In July, Prince Charles and Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, also invited the band of the Coldstream Guards to play English soccer anthems Three Lions and Sweet Caroline in the garden of Clarence House to celebrate the success of the England soccer team at the Euro 2020 Championships. Sadly for fans of England, including Prince William, Kate Middleton, and Prince George, who attended Euro 2020 games at London's Wembley Stadium, the team was ultimately defeated by Italy in the final game.